Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will delve into the dark and haunting history of the Tuskegee study of syphilis. Healthcare professionals had questions about late-stage syphilis treatment risks and racial differences in a disease progression. A study based on a lie deceived participants with false promises of free treatment and care using placebo and invasive procedures for research. The notorious study, which began in 1932 and lasted for 4 decades. A clinical study conducted by the U.S. Public Health Service from 1932 to 1970, which involved 399 men with syphilis and 201 without. The study focused on African American males who lived in Tuskegee and Alabama. These men were unknowingly and left untreated for syphilis. These men were told that they were receiving treatment for bad blood. Dr. Dubley and Nurse Rivers, two African American health professionals, played a pivotal role in recruiting and retaining participants for this study. This is of great importance because it is a perfect example of ethical and legal issues that could happen in healthcare and the importance of conducting business with good morals and ethics while remaining within the law. Let's explore the ethical aspects of the Tuskegee study. The researchers involved in the study blatantly violated several fundamental ethical principles. The study involved the deliberate withholding of treatment for syphilis from participants who were already suffering from the disease. This is a clear violation of their right to medical care and an ethical breach. The unethical nature of the study had lasting effects, destroying trust in medical and research institutions. This breach of trust led to skepticism about the ethics of medical research. The study exposed by whistleblowers and subsequently led to ethical reforms. It played a pivotal role in the development of the Belmont Report, which outlines principles for ethical research with human subjects. The study highlighted the need for ethical research and the protection of participants' rights. Advocacy groups played a pivotal role in raising awareness about the ethical conduct of research. This highlights grave legal principles violated in the syphilis study. Participants were not informed about the nature of the study, the risks involved, or the fact that they had syphilis. They were also not informed about the availability of treatment with penicillin. Participants were denied access to treatment for syphilis. They were left untreated, leading to severe health consequences and suffering. The study lacked proper ethical oversight with no institutional review board or regulatory mechanisms in place. The study had a significant impact on raising public awareness and encouraging whistleblowing in the context of unethical research practices. In 1968, Peter Buxton, a venereal disease investigator with the USPHS, courageously voiced his concerns about the study's unethical practices. However, it wasn't until 1972 that the study's true nature was revealed by whistleblower who informed Associate Press writer Jean Heller. The public finally learned about the study's horrors through local newspapers. The Tuskegee study had significant and lasting impacts on healthcare professionals. These impacts influenced the ethical conduct of research and patient care. The Tuskegee study involved the U.S. Public Health Service deliberately withholding treatment for syphilis from African American men, even after effective treatments were available. The ethical concerns arose because the study violated basic principles of medical ethics, including the obligation to provide appropriate treatment and inform patients of their diagnosis. The revelation of these unethical practices raised public outrage and initiated discussions within the medical and research communities about the need for stringent ethical guidelines in research. The unethical nature of the study and its targeting of African American participants had a lasting impact on the trust that minority communities had in medical institutions and research. The breach of trust led to skepticism, reluctance, and suspicion regarding medical research and healthcare. The study was exposed by a whistleblower in 1972, leading to its termination. The National Commission produced the Belmont Report, which outlined ethical principles and guidelines for research involving human subjects, including respect for persons, benefits, and justice. The exposure of the study led to greater public awareness of the need for ethical research practices. Advocacy groups and activists played a key role in advocating for changes in research and healthcare practices, ensuring that exploitations and mistreatments like those in the Tuskegee study would not happen again. The study, despite its ethical violations and harm, has led to several important lessons. The study exposed the importance of ethical oversight in research, the establishment of institutional review boards and regulatory frameworks like the Common Rule is crucial for protecting the rights and well-being of research participants. The study highlighted the need for transparency and accountability in research. Researchers and institutions must be open about their activities, potential conflicts of interest, and research findings to maintain trust. Efforts to improve the diversity of research participants have been reinforced. Researchers should be inclusive and represent a wide range of demographics to ensure that the findings apply to diverse populations. Participants were left untreated, leading to severe health consequences, including the development of advanced syphilis, organ damage, blindness, heart and brain disorders, and even death. The prolonged harm inflicted on these individuals expose the grave consequences that can result from exploiting vulnerable populations in research. The Tuskegee study led to several recommendations to avoid similar ethical issues in the future. These recommendations have influenced research, healthcare, and policy development. Some of the key recommendations are: communities, especially marginalized and vulnerable populations, should be actively engaged in research decisions. Their input and perspectives are crucial to shaping the ethical research practices. Education on research ethics and ethical conduct in healthcare is essential. Researchers, healthcare professionals, and students should receive training on ethical principles and the consequences of unethical behavior. Efforts to understand and address health disparities, particularly in marginalized communities, should be intensified. Research and healthcare practices must actively work to reduce disparities. Enactment and enforcement of legislation and regulations to protect the rights and well-being of research participants. The National Research Act of 1974 and the Common Rule in the United States are examples of such regulatory frameworks. The apology in 1997 served as a formal recognition of the ethical violations, the breach of trust, and the lasting impact of the Tuskegee study on the African American community and research ethics. The apology aimed to provide a sense of closure and acknowledgement of the wrongs committed, emphasizing the importance of learning from the mistakes of the past to ensure that such unethical practices would not be repeated in the future. The exposure of the Tuskegee study in 1972 led to its immediate termination. Participants were offered some monetary and medical reparations, but the consequences of the study persisted. Congressional hearings began in 1973, and a class action lawsuit filed by the NAACP resulted in a $9 million settlement, reflecting the gravity of the violations. The Public Health Service and the Tuskegee University worked together to observe the natural progression of syphilis in African American men. The study began in 1932. In 1932 to 1940, the study was initially intended to last for 6 months but was extended. In the 1940s, penicillin became widely available. And by 1947, penicillin is the standard treatment for syphilis, yet the study continues without providing treatment for the participants. In the 1950s to 1960s, the study continued, and over time, more participants suffered from the consequences of untreated syphilis. In 1972 was the leak to the press, and 1997 was the formal apology from Bill Clinton on behalf of the study, acknowledging its shameful and racist nature. The Tuskegee study of syphilis is a haunting chapter in the history of medical research. It challenges us to reflect on healthcare's ethical, legal, cultural, and social aspects. Let's not forget the lessons learned from this tragedy and ensure that such blatant ethical violations never happen again.